everyone, welcome to Scrapbook.com here at the Hedgehog Hollow with me, Alexandra Stapleton Smith, and today I want to show you some of the new Distress releases from Ranger that they released at Creativation 2019, and I have them all on my table to show you, so let's dive right in and so I can show you all those amazing things. I'll also have some tutorial videos showing you tips and techniques with these products, but first of all I wanted to show you an overview of all the fab new things they have. So first of all we have some Distress Archival ink. So they're going to come in packs of 4 like this. So Archival ink is waterproof, it dries on non-porous surfaces, and the great thing is you can also heat set it. So if you stamp this onto fabric, then heat set it, it's permanent on fabric as well, which I think is awesome. You can also ink blend with Archival, and you can work with alcohol with it as well, do some really fun alcohol techniques. So we'll be showing you those in future videos. But they're going to come in sets of 4. There's 3 sets to start with here. So you've got your neutrals, our typical distress colours, and then we have these lovely warm colours, and then we have all of our brights here as well, and they come in the mini distress archival, the mini archival sizes, which fits in the mini archival storage tin here. So if I slide this off of here, all 12 are going to fit in one of these tins. This is different to the distress cube tin, but you can see the insert in here is perfect to fit all 12 of your colours in, and these are in the distress colours. So we have peeled paint, mermaid lagoon, faded jeans and dusky concord. We have black soot, ground espresso, hickory smoke and vintage photo, and then picked raspberry, barn door, spice marmalade and fossilized amber. So these are going to be able to, you're going to stamp on acetate, you can stamp over your alcohol inks. You're going to be able to stamp on anything you want to. So for instance, this was a class that I took at Creativation, and these are the samples we made. We sprayed and we added all sorts of mediums, and then we stamped with the Distress Archival here at the bottom. And of course it's completely waterproof, smudge proof, all of those things at the bottom. And it was really beautiful there, and it's never going to move because it's that archival ink on the bottom there. Then we have the thing that we've all been waiting for, which are our Distress Oxide sprays, and I put them all along the edge here. Let's turn them around so you can see them, and I put them in the beautiful rainbow order. So we have 12 colours that they're introducing to start with, and this is an oxide spray. So this is going to behave like an oxide, but in a spray format. So if you haven't seen Distress Oxides before, let me tell you why Distress Oxides are so very special. So I'm sure we're all familiar with our Tim Holtz Distress inks, and then we have our Distress Oxides. So our Distress inks come in a black container, our Distress Oxides come in that silver container. And the difference being our Distress inks, and I chose Candied Apple because it's a really nice example. You can see we have that lovely red colour, and we can use it on white, but if we use it on black, we're not going to see anything. Whereas if we take our Distress Oxide, we can use it on white, but when we use it on black, we're also going to be able to see it using the oxide. Now they also react beautifully with water. We can spritz them. They're going to give us those beautiful chalky reactions to them. They're a dye and pigment fusion. So you're going to have some really fun reactions. When you spritz them, you get some fantastic kind of oxidizations in that ink. You're going to spritz it, it's going to go chalky, you're going to get some fantastic kind of white rings around it. You're going to get different reactions to when you work with Distress inks. Now, Distress Oxide sprays are going to give you that same reaction. And if you look at a Distress Oxide reinker, you'll notice they have that separation in them. You have your pigment and then you have your dye, and it fuses together, and when we shake them, you'll hear that they have a ball inside. And I start shaking them. Just have to loosen it up. And now when I start shaking it, you can probably hear it just about. And it starts mixing that pigment and dye together. And before you re-ink your pads, you're going to mix those two together so it's thoroughly mixed. Well, when you get your Distress Oxide sprays, you're going to notice you have the same thing. You have your pigment in the bottom, you have your dye at the top, and these have that same ball in them. Now, you can of course do the whole around and around. The tip that Tim gave us in class is just take a piece of kitchen towel or your flour sack, put it over the top, give it a really good shake. You're going to displace that ball in the same way. Maybe 5-10 seconds shake. And you're going to notice that that colour mixes together. And so then you have a nice even colour and you can start spraying, which means we're going to get those beautiful colours again, and I can show you. Now you can work on any kind of cardstock. You can also work on your distress tags, which is that heavy mixed media tag, or you can work on your distress watercolors. And you're also going to get that wonderful intense color that we're used to from our Distress Oxides. And I'm going to spray this inside of a Splat box. Now, if you haven't seen a Splat box, this is a collapsible spray box. You can see it was totally flat. All I do is, I've got a little bit of a smaller area here. So all I do is I just put these two pieces forward and I fold this up. You can see how easy this is to spray into. And I'm ready to spray. And you can spray upwards like this, or you can spray downwards like this. And so you can stand your piece up. I have a tag here that I'm going to spray straight onto. So I can spray down, or I can stand my tag up. I have lots and lots of different options to spray onto. And those projects I showed you just now, we used our Distress Oxide sprays. You can see here how beautiful this kind of chalky finish is. And again, on this one here, we use this chalkiness at the top here. This is all Distress Oxide sprays. We used the Bundled Sage and the Vintage Photo on these two projects. And it was just so much fun to work with in the spray form, because they're going to, the one thing with the Distress Oxide sprays and Distress Oxides in general, so when we work with Distress inks, they can mix together. Distress Oxides, because they have that pigment in, you can layer colours, which means they have that translucency and you can kind of layer them up together and you get some really fun techniques. So let's spray a Distress Oxide so you can see what they look like. So I'm going to spray the Spiced Marmalade, and this one, when I was looking at them all here, was one of my favourites. So I'm just going to give it a nice spritz. These are brand new, so it's a little pump to get it started. But look at that intensity and vibrancy that you have on there. Absolutely beautiful. And then you can just give it a little bit of a dry. So I'm just drying it with my Ranger Heat It tool. And you'll notice it curls up as it dries, and then it'll start relaxing again. And because it's got that pigment in it, I can use it on a light or a dark cardstock. And I could add a second layer if I want a little bit more vibrancy. And so you can see there how beautiful does that colour look on there already. We already have some kind of orange peel on there, and they look a little bit different to your regular Distress stains. So Distress Spray Stain looks far more like a dye in the packet. You can see all the way through. You don't have any of that pigment in the bottom there. But it doesn't mean that they don't work really well together. But I could now go in and I could add some of the Wilted Violet. I'll cover up my lid a little bit, give it a nice shake. And we could spray on some Wilted Violet. You can, of course, spray these through stencils. Add some of that purple at the top. We also have the Cracked Pistachio, which is one of my favourites. You can also see, in this Splat box, I have only used Distress Oxides. So you can see how those colours have started to build up in my Splat box. And you can see here how chalky and pretty these are. And how beautiful is that? That is one of my favourite distress colours, particularly in the Oxide. And so I'm layering out these colours and not creating mud, because the Oxides will allow you to layer colours. And now I'm going to add some water so you can see how it oxidizes. Just going to dry this one off a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely dry. I'm going to pass this to Greg so that you can see that a little bit closer. And I'm going to grab some water. Absolutely beautiful textures and things you get in there. So far we've used wilted violet, spice marmalade, and cracked pistachio on there. And even just without adding water, that's just the sprays themselves. So now we can oxidize that just by spraying on some water. I'm using my Nuvo Light Mist spray bottle to add some water to oxidize. Of course, we can also use our kitchen towel to take away some color. And again, I like using my Heated craft tool as opposed to, say, my Wagner craft tool, because it's not going to blow the water around. It's going to give me that intense heat, but it doesn't give me a high airflow. So what it does is it just gives me that drying, and it's not going to move any of my inks around for me, which is what I really, really like. So what you're going to notice now is by adding the water, I have a very different effect on my tag because it's oxidized. And so I can pass that one now closer. So now you can see how different that looks just by adding that little bit of water and how it reacts with that water. You can also mix in your Distress spray stains. You don't just have to stick to your oxides. The two will work together. You can also blend in inks with a stencil or stamp over the top. There really are so many different things you can do as well. You don't just have to stick to the one technique. If I wanted to spritz some spray stain at the bottom here, this is the Tattered Rose spray stain. I can add that in down at the bottom. As I say, we'll do some tips and techniques videos where we work with these spray stains. They'll be on the Scrapbook.com channel, so you'll be able to get some different techniques of how to work with these and some tips and things. This is really just to show you how amazing these new sprays are. And these aren't just Distress Oxides that they could put in a bottle. They had to formulate it so that it would behave like an oxide in a bottle as well. But you can see, you can then layer your regular Distress stains over the top as well. So that is the new release from Ranger from Creativation 2019 for Distress. We also did have a video on the alcohol ink release from Ranger as well. There's also Wendy Becky releases, Dilutions releases, Dina Wakely releases, so many new things as well. So check all of those out on the Scrapbook.com channel too. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell as well. And do give us a thumbs up too. Don't forget to stop by the Scrapbook.com store. All the links are in the video description for everything I've shown you here today as well. And we'll see you again very soon. Happy stamping, everyone. Bye.